I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahabashai, Bahashem, Rachakodash. I want to give double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, because those are the men who I learned this truth from through the spirit and power of Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahabashai. Yahweh is the true name of the God of Israel. Yahabashai is who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ, but his one and only true name is Yahushua. And pretty much I just woke up not too long ago, and before I get my day started, I wanted to do a lesson concerning the early and latter rains, and pretty much show you the prophetic side on how that translates to the Most High having this word go out through the four corners of the earth so that the end could come. Because there's individuals on the planet Earth, the elect of the nation of Israel, that have the truth, and they learned the truth from the men that the Most High set up through Yahushua blood and sacrifice to make them wise unto salvation. So the elect that's alive on the planet Earth today, there will be a particular doctrine and, gospel that will be taught unto them to make them wise unto salvation. So that's crucial when you read the scriptures. Now, concerning the early and latter rains, in ancient Israel, when we were sovereign and independent in our promised land, it was dependent on rainfalls. Now, what you need to understand is no rain fell from the months of so-called May to September. All right. The former rain in the Bible falls in the latter part of October or the first part of November usually. The former rain is the signal for the farmer to start plowing and planting seeds. The latter rain normally falls in March and April, and the latter rain is very important and valuable. Why? Because it matures the barley and the wheat crops. So pretty much to sum it all up, one particularly rain means it's time to plant seeds, and the other rain, which comes in the first month of Bib from March to April, which is Passover time, which fattens up the seeds or the grains. All right. So that's what you need to understand. So pretty much before I get into the lesson, all right, we had two major rain seasons. If it didn't rain, we couldn't plant grains or seeds, because another word for grains is seeds, because the ground was too hard back in the ancient world. It required much more hard labor than today, where today, we have technology to break up the ground. All right. That's why when we prayed so much for rain in the ancient world, when you read in the scriptures, because we needed the rain to soften up the ground so we could plant grains. And like I said, another word for grains is seeds. All right. Scriptures talk about breaking up fallow grounds. When it says fallow grounds, it's talk about hard ground. So that's why that rain was so important. All right. So let's read this just to sum it all up. So I typed in early and latter rain, on Google, and this is what the AI said, right? It says the early and latter rains are two crucial distant rainy seasons in ancient Israel's agricultural calendar. The early or former rain occurs in autumn, right, between October to November, to prepare the soil and germinate seeds. The latter rain falls in spring, which is from March to April, to mature crops for harvest. All right. Agricultural significance: early rain, which is autumn, softens the ground, dry ground after summer, allowing for planting and promoting the growth of young plants. The latter rain, which is spring, right around Passover time, is crucial for ripening the grain before the harvest. It says the wait. It says farmers rely heavily on both rains, right, the early and latter rain, Without them, crops fail, requiring patience. So it says, so that's pretty much it. All right, that's pretty much it. Let's get into the lesson now. So this is Leviticus chapter 26, and let's see, Leviticus 26 and verse 3 and 4. It says, if ye walk, now who's the ye? The nation that was given the law, statutes, and commandments, which is only the Israelites. Only the Israelites was given a heritage by the Most High God, Yahweh. All right? When you read about the law, statutes, and commandments, that's our culture as Israelites. That's our heritage. All right? So it says, if ye walk in my statutes and keep my commandments and do them, then I will give you rain in due season, and the land shall yield her increase, and the trees of the field shall yield their fruit. So when you look at the land of Israel today, you notice that what? It needs a lot of aid from America to stay afloat. Why? Because the true Israelites as an entire nation underneath Yahushua is not in the promised land of Israel. And ultimately, we're under the curses of Deuteronomy chapter 28, which, you know, part of them curses in Deuteronomy chapter 28 is that our land, it wouldn't be prosperous. It wouldn't be flowing with milk and honey because it's not blessed yet under the new covenant through Yahushua. All right? So that land is not blessed right now. Why? Because we broke the law, statutes, and commandments. And ultimately, that land right now is being ruled by the Edomites when you read Ezekiel 36 and 5. So a lot of these places that be suffering, you know, droughts and stuff like that, but mainly just concerning our land, is because we broke the law, statutes, and commandments. All right? Now, let's go here. So if we was to keep the law, statutes, and commandments, the Most High, he would have blessed our land. So the fact that it needs so much aid from America, that lets you know that what? The land is not blessed. So now, that's transition. Now, this is Deuteronomy chapter 32 and verse 1 and 2. It says, give ear, O ye heavens, and I will speak, and hear, O earth, the words of my mouth. It says, my doctrine. So that's what you need to understand. When you read about the different prophets and the different men of the Lord from the Old to the New Testament, we're teaching and preaching Yahweh's doctrine. This is his word. This is his will. All right? So there's only one truth. There's only one gospel that you have to receive in order to be what? Be made wise unto salvation as Israelites that believe. So it says, my doctrine shall drop as the rain. My speech shall distill as the dew, which the dew is like the morning fog. All right? That's pretty much how in the ancient world, before the Most High, you know, let it rain, opening up the heavens and allowing rain to come down on the planet Earth. You know, the crops, the grass, and stuff of that nature. They used to have like this mist. All right, that's what the morning fog is. That's the dew. So it goes on to say, as the small rain upon the tender herb, and as the showers upon the grass. It says, because I will publish the name of Yahweh, ascribe ye greatness unto our God. So that's what we do. The name of Yahweh and Yahushua is being exalted through what? His servants, the prophets, his husbandry. All right? So now let's go here. So this is St. John 7 and 16. It says, Yahushua answered them and said, my doctrine is not mine. All right, so this doctrine that we teaching, that's perfect, by the way, purified 7 times, as the scripture says, this is the Most High's doctrine. So there's no private interpretation of breaking the scriptures down, because that wouldn't be of the Most High. That wouldn't be of the Holy Spirit through Yahushua. So it says, Yahushua answered them and said, my doctrine is not mine, but his that sent me. Who sent Yahushua? The Most High, Yahweh. All right? If any man, meaning any Israelite man, will do his will. So when we preach and we teach, that's his will. And it's also what? His word that we're teaching. It says, he shall know of the doctrine, right? Only one doctrine, whether it be of the Most High or whether I speak of myself. At any time Yahushua did any miracles, who did he praise? Who did he give all praise, honor, and glory to? Yahweh, the God of Israel. So we have to do the same thing, and we give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh and Yahushua. So you as an Israelite, you're supposed to worship and reverence Yahushua as you would worship the Most High. All right? And they're two separate entities. Let's keep it going. So this is, let me see. I think it's up here somewhere. This is the book of Revelation, chapter 11, and I think it's verse 11. This is Revelation, chapter 11 and verse 11. It says, and after 3 days and a half, the spirit of life from the Most High enter into them, right? Referring to who? The elect of the nation of Israel, but ultimately his prophets, right? It says, and in this lifetime, you can receive it. That begins with Abba Bivens, all right? Continuing on. Because pretty much, Abba Bivens, for those that have the spirit and spiritual ears to hear, in the reincarnation or the incarnation, he was Elijah, also known as John the Baptist, in a different generation. All right. So if you could receive it, John the Baptist, he was prophesied to teach a doctrine that will return the children of Israel back unto Yahweh and Yahushua. And the man that did that was Abba Bivens. All right, that's what we believe through faith. Also, him in his past life in a previous generation, he was Elijah. Elijah, he had the spiritual power over actual rain when you read the scriptures. All right. So now continuing on. So this is Revelation 11 and 11. It says, and after 3 days and a half, the spirit of the Most High entered into them, and they stood upon their feet, and great fear fell upon them, these Edomites, because they control the school systems, the universities, the different colleges. They control the internet. They control information. And part of them controlling everything is that they want to keep the truth hidden. They don't really want the world to know who the real Israelites are. They don't really want to be exposed. That's why there's a lot of quotes from different Edomites saying what? We should have never created the internet, because the internet, it exposes them, their true identity. And ultimately, we're messing up, not really messing up, but we're exposing their new world order, all right? Because it's in the scriptures. So when it says, and after 3 days, right, the 3 days is representing what? 1,260 days, right? And then it says, and after 3 days and a half, right? The 3 days and a half is what? 350 years from when we went to slavery or landed in America, from 1619 all the way up to about 1970 to 1971, going back to Abba Bivens, all right? Prophesied in Malachi, the 4th chapter, to come before the great and terrible day of the Lord. So it goes on to say, so I'll read it again, Revelation 11:11. It says, and after 3 days and a half, the spirit of life from the Most High entered into them, and they stood upon their feet, and great fear fell upon them which saw them. Because they can also watch us through the satellites, through technology, smart TVs, smart technology. So that they're afraid, because they know that what? The end is about to come. The scriptures say that this gospel shall be preached in all the world, and then the end is going to come. But the Most High, he got to put the spirit on one particular individual so that the truth can spread. And he did that through Abba Bivens, all right? So the 3 days and a half represent what? 350 years. That's from 1619 through 1970 or 1971. When Abba Bivens, he got the spirit of life from the Most High through Yahushua, and he started to preach. And you can hear his tape recordings on YouTube. All right? So that's it with that. Now let's keep it going. Because these are things we believe through faith, but it's biblical. It's a part of the gospel. This is Malachi chapter 4 and verse 5. It says, "Behold, I will send you Elijah the prophet before the coming of the great and dreadful day of the Lord." How would you know an individual is Elijah if the Most High don't open up your understanding? That don't mean that, the Most High, he gonna have Elijah from that previous generation, walking around as, Elijah. That's talking about he has to come in the reincarnation, back in the flesh, through the seed of his fathers, and prophesy, because that's his lot, to be a prophet. That's his predestinated lot. That's what the Most High foreordained for this particular spirit, as well as all the prophets. All right. So the Most High, he would use Elijah in this particular generation as Abba Bivens to what? Teach his word, to teach his doctrine, and then the truth will start to spread. That's why you see all these camps. That's what the Lord said in Deuteronomy 32nd chapter, that what? That his doctrine, it was going to drop as rain. When you look at rain, it rains all over. There's water all over the place. That's what's going on. So that what? The elect could be made wise to salvation through their faith in his only begotten son, Yahushua, and then the end will come. All right? Malachi 4 and 5, it says, "Behold, I will send you Elijah the prophet before the coming of the great and dreadful day of the Lord." And that's what the Lord did. He did that already, all right, because Abba Bivens, he passed away. But he taught that word while he was alive on the planet Earth. And now look at the truth now. Look at all the camps. If it wasn't for Abba Bivens, through Yahweh's blood and sacrifice, through the Most High having mercy on us, all right? So continuing on, so I'm going to read again. Malachi 4 and 5, "Behold, I will send you Elijah the prophet before the coming of the great and dreadful day of the Lord." And that happened in this particular generation. That's end time prophecy. You got to know who Elijah was. And he was Abba Bivens. That's a part of the gospel. That's a major prophecy in the last days, to know who that is. So if you could receive it, that's Abba Bivens. So Malachi 4 and 6, "And he shall turn the heart of the fathers to the children." Exactly, because everybody back during the 70s, they wasn't really going into the New Testament. Everybody was just Old Testament Israelites only. So the Lord was really dealing with Abba Bivens to go into that New Testament. All right? It says, "And he shall turn the heart of the fathers," meaning the Israelites, "to the children, and the heart of the children to their fathers." Meaning what? We will remember ourselves in the land of our captivity. When you read the book of Baruch, which Baruch, he was Jeremiah's understudy, because prophets, they had understudies, they had scribes. All right? So it was prophesied that what? That we will remember ourselves. When you read Baruch, the 2nd chapter, as well as Ezekiel, the 37th chapter. So the truth, it has to start somewhere. The Most High got to deal with one individual to wake up other individuals to keep the legacy going. That's why he said his doctrine is going to fall as rain. It says, "To their fathers lest I come and smite the earth with a curse." So that's it with that. This is the book of Joel, chapter 2 and 22. It says, "Be not afraid, ye beasts of the earth, for the pastures of the wilderness do spring, for the tree beareth for fruit, the fig tree and the vine do yield their strength." It says, "Be glad then, ye children of Zion," meaning the seed of Israel, the so-called Negroes, Hispanics, and Native American Indians, "and rejoice in Yahweh your God, for he hath given you the former rain moderately, and he will cause to come down for you the rain, the former rain, and the latter rain in the first month, which is talking about what? This truth. Because you understand that rain is supposed to be in seasons. But this verse is talking about in the last days, starting with the elect, which goes back again to Abba Bivens, right? It says, so yeah, that's pretty much it with that. I'm going to close it with this. Isaiah 55 and verse 10, it says, for as the rain cometh down and the snow from heaven, and returneth not thither, but watereth the earth and maketh it bring forth and bud, that it may give seed to the sower and bread to the eater, so shall my word be that goeth forth out of my mouth. It shall not return unto me void, but it shall accomplish that which I please. So whoever is meant through predestination, that's an Israelite, to receive this gospel and the Most High's doctrine, to be made wise unto salvation, is going to happen, no matter where they've been scattered at on the planet Earth. It says, that which I please, it shall prosper in the thing whereto I sent it. All right? So whoever is a part of the elect that's alive on the planet Earth, they would come across a brother in Great Millstone's video and be made wise unto salvation, if that's their predestined lot. So Lord willing, you was edified by the lesson. Shalom.